Good evening. Welcome to the best listening room in Portland. I'm Bob Lynne, and I'm the president of the board. And I'm not changing the name of Artichoke. So, anyway, as president, I get paid twice as much as everyone else, so that's really a good deal. First thing that I would ask is some housekeeping things. Cell phones, turn them off, please. So if you've forgotten, take a look at your cell phone and turn it off. We do have a bathroom over here, but we typically don't use it during performances because it could be a little bit of annoying. But we have two others. One in the store, just as you come around the corner, and we have one upstairs. So as soon as you come around, there's a set of stairs, and right at the foot of the first landing, there's a bathroom there. So, and if you go through the store, you might take a look at the instruments, and you might find one you like. How many people are here for the first time? Oh, quite a few. Don't make it your last, please. You know, I don't know if you know, we're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3, and we have a pretty large staff, one full-time and one half-time, and 77 volunteers. So, you know, that's what we're based on. And we're all about community. And most of those instruments you see there, they're consignment instruments. We don't own them, but there are musicians who bring them in and we sell them on consignment. So if you're interested in one of the instruments or you want some help with something, we have some pretty knowledgeable staff here. We'd be more than happy to help you. Anyway, you have a great program tonight. It's very exciting. Aryeh and Lisa, boy, I wish I could stay for the whole program. We get something else going on upstairs, so I'll be up and down. So a little disappointed about that, but you guys are gonna have the best, and I think you'll have an incredible time. And once again, thank you for being here. One more thing. The volunteers that I was talking about, I'd like to thank some of the ones that are here tonight. And we have Chris on sound. Thank you. Chris is amazing. Without these people, by the way, nothing happens here. When I say we have Chris on sound, our sound is equal to the best you've seen anywhere, in my opinion. And then we have Ben on video. Kyle, who does everything, the store, the door, and gives you the best welcome you've ever gotten. So you've all probably have met Kyle by now. And Jeremy at the bar. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Have a great time. And here's your eyes, Aryeh and Lisa.
All righty. You look like a tough crowd. This is our first time playing at Artichoke. We've played in Portland before, and I've already socialized with some of you folks in the audience, but I just always like to take a little bit of a poll. So we like to call these, who here we like to call a first-time offender? Seeing Lisa and myself for the very first time. Oh, the vast wow, thank you for coming out. Okay, well, took a chance. And we aim to please. We're going to get started, and are you ready to rock? Okay.
Bless you.
Bless you. Okay, now we're ready to rock. Now, how many of you thought you were coming to a sleepy harp concert? That's coming. Look, you have seen the billing. This is Lisa Lynne here, and I'm Aryeh Frankfurter, and even my friends are curious about how I came to be saddled with a name like Aryeh Frankfurter. They want a little background, so I thought I would give you some information, a little story to give you an indication. I was given this name by my parents, and I have to say that I know that we all have eccentric families, but mine take the cake. And I'll give you a little vignette of what I had to put up with when I was growing up. My father was born in Austria and raised in Switzerland. My mother is Dutch. I was born in Los Angeles, California. Like, we're talking about a mutt here. In my home, it was like being in Europe, but as soon as I stepped outside, I was in suburban California. Anyway, my parents were wonderful parents, and I was, it was a great childhood. And we listened to all sorts of music. I had all sorts of instruments around the house. And living in Los Angeles, we would go down to the Hollywood Bowl often to see all sorts of concerts, and classical and pop, and we had one tradition that every year we would go to see a particular singer-songwriter. Maybe you will remember his name, was and is Harry Chapin. Do you remember Harry Chapin? Singer-songwriter, Cats in the Cradle. Wonderful. It was a tradition. For some reason, we would have to go see Harry Chapin every year. One year, I think I was about 11 years old, we're going down, and we start to go up to the parking lot, and my brother sitting next to me kind of looks around. He's like, this crowd, they look a little older than what we're used to for a Harry Chapin concert. Well, we didn't think much of it. We take our tickets, we get to the usher, we get in, everything seems to be fine. We're sitting down. We're sitting there for about 5 minutes looking around, and when another group of people come, and they apparently have our seats. They have tickets for our same seats. This was very confusing. We're looking, we couldn't figure it out. Finally, we had to bring an usher down, and he was confused. Finally, he figures it out. We are at the wrong concert. Harry Chapin is playing the next month. We're at some other concert. Okay, that's fine. We're about to leave when my mother, with her thick Dutch accent, asked the usher, so if this is not Harry Chapin, whose concert is this? And my usher says, why, you're at a Tom Jones concert. And my mother, with that thick Dutch accent, gets up and in the loudest possible voice says, Tom Jones? I hate Tom Jones! A hush filled the entire Hollywood Bowl. The dagger eyes coming right at us. Well, we're going to be playing a lot of different music, some of it traditional, some of it original. We'll tell you some about our instruments. We're going to play a variety of different things, but we want to leave you with this one thought, which is this. It's not unusual to be loved by anyone.
Thank you kindly. I appreciate that so much. This is an original piece of music called On Sylvan Rings, written on this instrument here, which you all know to be a traditional Celtic harp. You folks are especially enlightened when it comes to instruments of the folk genre, and you're well familiar with this instrument, but many people still get this confused with the big concert golden pedal harp, which came later. Another fine instrument, but it's a whole different animal. This is kind of the predecessor. This one's more like the Earth Mama hippie harp. And the classical is the fancy, prim, beautiful, many, many notes and pedals harp. And I would be playing at a fair or festival somewhere, and someone comes up and say, "Oh, what a cute baby harp. I've seen a real one before." We're like, this is the real one. I actually have 25 of these, not because I need to go on hoarders, but because I use them to share. And my favorite thing to do is bring them around to senior centers, kindergartens, and everything in between, and get everybody playing on the harp, because it's such a beautiful, forgiving instrument that it's one of the very favorite things I do. So I have a little trailer, and we load them all up and drive them all around fun places. We'll be doing it at the Yachats Celtic Festival this year as well. So I've written a lot of music on this instrument over many decades, lots and lots and lots of music. And this one next piece of music is the only piece of music that we do every single concert every year of our life. Because if we ever don't, someone will say, "You didn't play my favorite song." So I have to play my one little hit song, and we always do it right here. And this piece of music, somehow I wrote it for a Windham Hill Celtic Christmas. I scribbled it really quickly and just turned it in and didn't think much about it, but somehow it just went far and wide. And you can go on YouTube and see people all over the world playing it. You can see strange Asian animation of ladies floating to it. We've come across Irish sessions at festivals when people are actually playing it and passing it around in the tradition like they do with traditional music, which is, mostly, anonymous. They don't know, they just pass it on. And Aryeh asked them, "Hey, where'd you get that tune?" And they said, "Oh, we're all learning it." And they thought it was a traditional, and so I thought, I finally become anonymous. It's my dream in life to be anonymous. Well, anyways, we see little girls dancing to it on stages at festivals, and it's just makes me feel so proud. But the biggest claim to fame is one day I was looking at my royalty statements, and all of a sudden they went, whoa, way up high, like shocking high. And I did some research and found out that Martha Stewart had put my little tune on Martha Stewart's bridal CD. Ka-ching! So Martha paid off my van, bought me a bunch of guitars. I always think of Martha when I play this song. And, I used to do a lot of weddings. I've done thousands of them. I love it. I loved them. I love it. It's an honor. I can't do it so much anymore because we travel. But I still do get calls from brides who ask me on the phone, "Can you play that song, Circle of Joy by Martha Stewart?" And I say, "Oh, yes, I can."
Alrighty. Well, since so many of you are new to us, you've probably, those of you have our first time here, have had a burning question on your mind since the beginning of the show. But a lot of you already know this, but you're dying to know what this thing I'm playing is. So I gotta do a little show and tell. This instrument is called a Nyckelharpa. Or you could say it with a regular American accent, Nyckelharpa, and it's spelled Nyckelharp. Weird word. Said it with that weird accent because this instrument comes from Sweden, from Sweden. And the word nyckel means key or keyed in Swedish, and although it has a word harp in its name, it's not a harp because I play with a bow, it's actually a kind of fiddle or violin. So keyed fiddle. Very briefly how these things work, I got these rows of buttons or keys on the side of the instrument that you can see there, and coming up through the strings you can see those wooden pegs, those wooden dowels coming up through the strings, and each one of the keys has drilled into it one of these wooden pegs so that when I tap on it, it hits a string and makes a different note. When you're playing a violin or fretting a guitar, you're putting your finger directly on the string to shorten it and to make a different tone. I am basically pressing these keys in order to make a different tone. It's kind of like, if you remember the days of a typewriter, it's like a musical typewriter, same principle. But you may notice it's strange because it has a lot of strings. It has a total of 16 strings. Here's the thing, I'm not playing all 16 strings, I'm only bowing 4, just like a regular violin, viola, or cello, and the other 12 strings lie underneath, and they're sympathetic strings. They vibrate all on their own. These are very compassionate, empathetic strings. And it's based on pure physics. If I bow or play a note with the key and a bow, and there's a string tuned to the note that I'm playing, that sympathetic string will start to resonate and vibrate all on its own. And it gives this instrument a very resonant and very full and kind of a magical sound to it. Very briefly about the history of this instrument, it's actually a medieval instrument. It goes back, not this particular one, but the history goes back at least to the mid-1300s. There's a church in Sweden. If you go see it, there's a carving of an angel playing a very crude version of this instrument, and there's a date right underneath it, 1350. So we know it goes back that far, probably farther, and we also know it was played throughout Europe, but it died out everywhere except for in Sweden, where it's had a living tradition for the past 600 or so years, and because of that relationship to Sweden and only Sweden, it is considered a Swedish instrument. And now it's time for some Swedish music. We're going to play a tune written by the second most famous Nyckelharpa player you never have heard of. His name was and is Eric Sahlström. Eric Sahlström was born in 1908. He died in the 1970s. And even though there was a few players left by the 1950s and 60s, the instrument it was almost dying out. There was maybe a dozen or so players left. And Eric Sahlström is credited for reviving the instrument, kind of updating it. And now it's just flourishing. It's a virus, it's a mushroom. It's everywhere. Somebody's playing a Nyckelharpa. And we're going to play one of my favorite pieces by him. It's a tune entitled Beethoven. And you'll find out why in the middle of it.
And this instrument I'm holding here is called a Cittern, Cittern, a commonly used phrase, a term in the Renaissance period for all kind of fretted strummed instruments. It kind of came into its own. It died out, and it came into its own around the 50s, and it's most often played in Celtic music and Swedish music. It has open tunings, so I keep it tuned in the key of G, and then I move the fret around, the capo around to play in different keys, so you can do similar chord shapes in each key. That's the secret. I happen to know there's a fine Cittern for sale in the room over here, too. A Sobel one that's awesome, and you can get it at a bargain price. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's a bargain. Citterns are awesome. You can play so much on them, and you automatically become, if you're holding one, you automatically become cool. So keep that in mind.
All right. Well, there are two harps up here, and I'm going to turn to playing the harp for the next few tunes. And as Lisa mentioned, this instrument is called a Celtic or Irish harp. And guess what? We have yet to play a single Irish tune for you, and we're going to fix that with the next set of tunes. Many of you may already know this, but the national composer of Ireland is a fella by the name of Turlough O'Carolan. And Turlough O'Carolan lived in the late early 1700s. And if you remember your Irish history, this was not a happy time for the Irish. They had been colonized by the British, and things were pretty rough for them. And so O'Carolan lived in a very dark period of time, and he also, some of you may know that when he was around 16 years old, he was stricken with smallpox. And though he survived, it left him utterly and completely blind. So not only did he live in dark times, he himself lived in complete and utter darkness. Yet he rose to become Ireland's most celebrated composer of playing the harp and composing wonderful pieces for this music. And if you go to an Irish session, or if you're, one of those a lot of fiddle players and so forth, if you stick around, you're bound to hear an O'Carolan tune being played that night. The music's so beloved. And if you go to different pubs and you travel around, you eventually will find out that the people are playing about the same, maybe 6, 8, 10 of the same O'Carolan tunes, and yet we have about 217. There's a book of it. And during the pandemic, I thought, well, what about the other 200 tunes? So I can read music, and I went through the entire book. I read through all of the O'Carolan tunes, and I found some really lovely pieces. Not to say that they're discovered. All of them have been played probably, but they're lesser known, and I recorded an album of these lesser-known O'Carolan pieces, and I'm going to play for you one of those tunes from that album, one of these lesser-known tunes. It's a tune called Robert Jordan, and O'Carolan had a horse and a guide, and he would go from house to house, manor to manor, castle to castle. He'd be taken in by patrons who would give him food, drink, and a place to sleep, and in exchange, he would play for them the harp, and he'd compose a piece in their honor. And we're going to play one of these tunes. Robert Jordan was one of these folks. I looked a little up, and I could not find much information about Robert Jordan, but I like to say he must have been a fine fella, because it's a fine tune. And then after that, we're going to play a tune that was made famous by a band called the Bothy Band, called The Twisting of the Rope.
Why do you need your glasses? O'Carolan was blind.
Because he was a genius. Why, thank you. We're going to do one more Irish tune, and we're going to just kick things up and play for you a jig. I played this tune. This was the most terrifying experience I've ever had. I played this tune for about 4,000 Swedes in Sweden back around 20 years ago, and yeah, I'm still traumatized by the experience, but you know, they were Swedes, so as far as they were concerned, it was all good. We're going to play for you an Irish jig called Susie McGuire.
Pressure. We have this many strings, and one of us has perfect pitch. You almost have to go to couples counseling. Isn't he dreamy? Okay. Would you? Yes, please. Thank you.
Lisa and I have been together for quite a while, and we've recorded a number of albums together, and we just completed about a month ago, or released a month ago, a latest album. We're really proud of it. And we went back to Lisa's repertoire, some of her music that she had done a long time ago when she was on the Windham Hill label, and we decided to bring out some of these pieces and revive them, bring them to Sun, and sort of reimagine them. I did some orchestration on them and sort of set them more into the kind of sound that we now share today. And we thought we'd share a couple of those pieces from this new album, and we're going to do so. This is a piece that Lisa wrote some time ago, and it is called Spirit Dance.
That was it. Thank you. Thank you very much. That joke just never gets old. We love it. We say it every single concert. This instrument I'm holding here is the national instrument of Ukraine, the Ukrainian Bandura, B-A-N-D-U-R-A. This instrument is so special, it has the most strings of any instrument on this stage. It has 63 strings. It's supposed to have 64 strings, but I only have 63 strings. And I love this instrument so much, but I have to confess, I do not do it justice. If you really want to see it played correctly, just go on YouTube, put in Ukrainian Bandura, and you will see the finest, most beautiful musicians and players, and you're supposed to be working the bass notes like this and crisscrossing, and they have the little sharp and flat lever flippers like the harps do, and they have a whole lower level of strings that you reach through and you play, and they play beautiful classical music and whole orchestras and little girls singing, and it's all so cute, so fine. You can see I even have like cheat sheet notes here, little color coded here, so that I just play it like a zither, and I just can do it well enough to make it a texture on our albums. But I hope someday I have the time and the chance to really do it justice and play it right. With our music, we get to play a lot of very unique places. We play big, giant, fancy places. We play little, tiny house concerts, everything in between. And one of the more unusual places that we used to play pretty regularly was a hot springs in Northern California. A clothing optional hot springs in Northern California. And sure enough, people would go in their birthday suit in the falls and the pools and the ponds and everything. But once in a while, they'd walk around that way, and once in a while, they'd come to the concert that way. But we fortunately could wear our clothes in the concert. Otherwise, this would suddenly become my main instrument. I'd play every song on it. Okay, now I'll take this one away. We can probably turn this little old one off now. That's the little one off. On with the little one off, yeah, thank you. When I first started playing the harp, I was a heavy metal bass player. Yeah. But I played guitar since I was a kid, like 7 years old. And then electric guitar and then bass. There was a shortage of bass players, so I was a bass player because they wouldn't let any girls play in bands back then. I was working in a record store, Music Plus, and I was at a Renaissance fair at that time also, and I came across the harp, and I just fell in love with the sound of it. And so I really saved my money for a whole year, went back to the same fair, bought my first harp, it was $800, brought it home, and taught myself to play along with my Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin albums. And they sounded really good with harp on some of their music. It's folk music too. Neither band returned any of my calls or letters though. So I started writing my own songs, my own little pieces based on guitar chords I knew. It came pretty naturally to me. And I just thought I want to make a record of this. This was back when it wasn't easy to do on your own. So I worked in a record store, and I copied down all the record label names. I want to get on Windham Hill. They were the big thing at the time. They were all new. And so I wrote to Windham Hill, and New Age was like a big thing at the time. And all the big record labels had their New Age divisions with their Yannis and their, people like that. So I made my cassette tape in the back of my van, and I sent it to every major record label in the country. And every major record label in the country sent it right back. Unopened, unaccepted, rejected. And so I thought, well, it's a big world out there. So I went to another record store, only New Age music in Santa Monica, and I copied down a whole bunch of record labels from all over the world. So I sent my first cassette tape to a record label in Germany. And much to my surprise, I got a call and they said, "This is delightful music. How about you fly to Germany and record an album for our record label?" And I was like, what? On my phone, in my waitress uniform. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, of course. So I had a month to prepare and get all my stuff in order. And as I was getting closer, I thought, I'm going to need to make some money right there. I'm going to be there for a whole month recording in Mannheim, Germany. And so I told them, can I get some gigs? At the time, I was doing restaurant gigs and some weddings and little background and art gallery music. So I said, can you get me a few gigs while I'm there so I can make some money? And they said, sure, we'll have it all arranged. Well, I should have been a little bit more clear about what I was looking for, because when it came time for my first gig, it was not a little background music in a restaurant. It was a full theater with 200 serious German people coming to see the harp extravaganza from America. And I was barely playing. I was so nervous. I had no business there. I had barely any business making a record. I should not have been there. And boy, was I in over my head. When I saw all those people in a theater facing me on a stage, I nearly passed out. So I knocked back a good shot of Chardonnay, and I went for it. And I just pretended I couldn't let them see, although my hands were shaking. It was terrible. It was completely terrible. I was so nervous. I could hardly talk. I could hardly play. Somehow I got through it. And none of my no humor would work at all. Everything just completely fell flat. I had nothing. And so I got through it somehow. And the next day, the reviews came out in the paper. They were kind. They said, the harpist extravaganza from America had a very unique grasp on minimalism. So I went, all right, let's go with that. That's my thing, minimalism. Another gig went by, another bunch of weird gigs. They dropped me off at a train station, totally empty, nobody there except one sleeping lady. I had some background tracks that were recorded as part of my record, and my harp and my amplifier and one helper. And I'm supposed to play on this train station at like 2:34 to 2:39. And there's nobody there at all. So I'm sitting there ready to play my harp, and all of a sudden, the new fast track chain from Germany came up, and the clowns tumbled out, and the confetti went happening everywhere, and all in my head, and then whoosh, they're gone. And there I was, right there, all full of confetti. So in between, I'm recording. It's pretty terrible. It's not going that great. They had hired saxophones and drum machines and keyboards, and they were kind of making it all kind of hokey and not so cool. But it was okay. I was learning. And so then came time for the next gig, and I was just trying to go along and act cool and pretend like I do this all the time, but each one was terrifying, just terrifying. So this one, we're on the Autobahn highway, and all of a sudden there's a big, giant traffic jam. Not only that, people are walking along the side of the Autobahn dressed in crazy, colorful costumes. And we were there, and I said, is this going to make us late? It was hundreds and hundreds of people. Is this going to make us late for my gig? And they said, this is your gig. It was the 25-year anniversary of Woodstock, held in a stadium with about 30,000 people. And when I realized that, of course, I was terrified and traumatized. And it wasn't just me, it was bands all day. They had a huge stage, and they had a big field as far as the eye can see, packed with all those umpteen thousands of people as far as the eye can see, looking at this enormous stage and big screens all around the entire perimeter with cameras on the stage. And I was like, no way, this can't be happening. I gotta talk to somebody, trying to get out of it. And I watched, we were there early enough to see a few of the acts, and they were all the most beautiful, like incredible music, classical players and stringed instruments, and they had little Russian ballerinas just dressed in the finery to an orchestra, just dancing and doing such beautiful, beautiful work. And then it's getting, the whole time I'm just shaking, hanging onto my harp behind the stage saying, there has to be a mistake. This is so, I'm so underwater here. I'm so over my head. Oh my gosh. And I was supposed to play last. And the band before me was like an 18-piece funky trumpet band with giant, and they were rocking the place. They would have the whole stadium just rocking, just like they were doing like synchronized backflips with their trumpets. And it was like kind of Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was just so good. And the people, and I'm supposed to go after them with my harp. Something's a terrible mistake. And so the people just loving the band, they're rocking, the whole place is throbbing. It's late, about 9 o'clock, just getting dusk at that time. And I'm hyperventilating, my knees are shaking, and they get an encore, and then another encore, and people just boogie and ready to just keep on rocking out, yeah. And then here comes me with my little harp on the big stage, and I am shaking so much. I'm just like ready to cry, and I'm just praying like, oh, thank goodness, at least no one from my country is gonna see this happen. And the audience is like going, what? You know, they're like, huh? And sure enough, we're trying to plug in my harp, and then it's not working, there's no sound, and all of a sudden a big feedback sound, worst ever sound ever, and I'm just shaking. And there's no way that I could just possibly play any piece of music that I know. The only thing I could possibly do was this. I can buy some time this way, but I can't breathe, I can't move, I can't do anything else. But as soon as the harp did this, all of a sudden, all the trees surrounding the entire field went up in fairy lights, and the audience goes, whoa, and I go, whoa. And then all of a sudden, from behind me, all the little Russian ballerinas come out dressed as fairies with sparklers, and the audience is like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah! And it was incredibly awesome. They had this whole thing planned, that I would be the bridge from dusk, from daylight into dusk. I would be the bridge to create the magical time before everybody sat down to watch the entirety of Woodstock film from start to finish all night long. And they had all these plans. But nobody told me about any of it. So, you know, the fairies are dancing, and the audience has their lighters up, and they're swaying to my music, which is just going and flowing. And I'm like, oh, I wish everyone back home could see me now. And it went from the most traumatic possible experience in my world to sitting down after this giant magical thing happened. The screens are going up, Woodstock's coming on, there's a line for my autograph. And I'm looking at the screen saying, these are my people where I live. And what I took away from that extreme experience was, you know, I was terrified, thinking the worst possible thing that was going. And we can all feel that way at any time. We can feel that way today. There's a lot of big scary stuff going on. Things look dark. Things look bleak. And while I was sinking into despair, the little ballerinas were getting their wings on behind me. So you just never know how bad things can possibly look. There just might be fairies on the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are going to take a very short break, and we're going to come back for our second set in about 10 minutes. It'll be a shorter set than our first one, but we have some exciting things, and even those of you who have seen us before, we have some special stuff coming up. So don't leave, and if you do, we'll know, and we'll hunt you down. Anyway, back in the back there, we have some CDs, and I'll run back there, and if you want to check out some of our recordings and buy some, we'd love that.
And all those CDs have download codes. You don't have a CD player, you can have a download code. If you don't know what that is, give it to a young person. They know what to do with it. So you get 2 formats of each recording, and if you get 3, you get a 4th one free. Why? Because gas is so expensive, we don't want the weight of all the CDs to go home. We go from here to Olympia tomorrow, and then Coil, and then Anacortes. So if you have friends there, you can warn them that we're coming. And if you'd like to be on our newsletter list, we only live 2 hours south of here. We have a giant farm, we have a theater stage, we have events. I teach stained glass mosaic arts. I have a goddess barn where I have thousands of skirts and tops, really inexpensive, with fairy lights and 70s music. It's a very popular destination. So I only send something about 4 times a year. So if you would like to receive that newsletter, it features pictures of our famous cat, Nigel, and just put your email list on our list over there. So we'll see you in 10.
We're going to get started with our second set, and otherwise we'll be here all night long. Yeah. Well, we're so happy that you decided to return for our second set. Never happens. But we did prepare some material, and we're looking forward to sharing it with somebody. Oh, look at that. Cheers, everybody. So, we're going to get started, and
I was up here tuning the whole time. I have witnesses. So I better be in tune.
Thank you. I knew you guys would return. Well, that was a really unusual set of tunes, and the very first tune was actually an Appalachian fiddle tune that was arranged for harp by another harp player, and I kind of adapted it myself, and it's called Susan's Gone. And then we went into a Scottish tune that has, by far, the most unusual title for any tune that I've ever come across. It was called, and is called, A Scottish Fisherman's Song for Attracting Seals. I learned that piece from a Scottish harp player, a very famous one, and he told the story that he wanted to find out if it actually worked, so he took his harp out and played it. A fisherman took him out, and the seals came. He was so, it was like amazing. He got back to shore only to find out that the fisherman had been throwing chum. We're going to play now a piece that we've recorded on our very first album all the way back in 2007. I had learned this piece. I went to Scandinavia several times, number of times, and I came across a trio of Finnish musicians, and they played this piece. It was just absolutely gorgeous. It was so beautiful, and I said, would you mind giving me the music for this piece? I just love it. I would love to play it on the harp. And they were very generous, and they gave me the tune, and then I asked them if I would be, I adapted it for the harp. They played a button accordion, guitar, and mandolin. And then I asked them if we could record it on our album, and we did. And that was the last we ever played it, and that was 20 years ago. So we've just started playing this in concert, and we want to share it with you. It's a beautiful waltz called Waltz for Kuisma, who is the son of the mandolin player. And apparently he heard our version and said he approves.
So he's like 20-something now. As a reminder, too, this is being streamed live on YouTube now, and you can go back to it. It'll be there for a while. And you just go to Artichoke Community Music on YouTube, and it'll be there. Hopefully we'll look cool. We might not, but yeah, my hair. We're a hair band. around.
I think we need to do something a little bit sort of lively, and then we'll do those other two tunes.
Okay.
Okay.
But what?
What's we're going to do? Let's do, can you tune your thing to 7?
Okay.
All right.
Oh, and by the way, this instrument here, I forgot to introduce you to. This is an Irish bouzouki. It is exactly tuned like a mandolin, but 1 octave lower. I got this, it was made in North Carolina with North Carolina curly white maple. Ooh. And I just love my Irish bouzouki.
So Lisa's going to put a capo on her Cittern, and it's going to take about 5 minutes to tune it.
I'll be with you in
And so I
35
thought
to 40 minutes.
I thought I would sort of the dead space, the airspace here. I sort of fill it. And well, there's 2 options here. I could either ask you all if you have a question, or I could tell you a little story. Any questions? Stories. Okay. A lot of people are wondering how it is that I got into playing the Nyckelharpa, and I thought I would do a condensed version. I was invited to play in Sweden all the way back in 1993. You see, I actually left a really promising career, a very lucrative career in philosophy, to take up music. And I became a busker in San Francisco, and I played at Ghirardelli Square a lot back in the 90s. I got invited, some Swedish fiddlers saw me playing there. They said, we like the way you play. They brought me to Sweden to play at a great music festival there, and I had a marvelous time. You know, before I went to Sweden, I didn't have much acquaintance with Swedish folk music, but what I did know, I had heard and listened to by watching reruns of the Lawrence Welk Variety Hour. Remember that? And I have to say, it wasn't my cup of tea. A lot of accordions and too many bubbles. But when I got there, I discovered the music, and it over a 2-week period, it sort of grew on me. And by the time I had left Sweden at this festival, I had basically fallen in love with Nordic music and Swedish music, and I started to adapt it to the harp. I went back, they invited me back to play at several other events, and that's when I saw the Nyckelharpa being played. And being a fiddler player myself, I took it home, I started playing it, and it has sort of since taken over my life. And I thought I would tell you a little bit about the style of music. You know, in Sweden, just like every other country, folk music, a lot of it is for dancing. That's the purpose of the music. And they don't do a dance, they don't have like Irish music dances. They have marches and waltzes, but they don't have any jigs or reels. They do have something, though, that's called a polska, not to be confused with a polka. Now, a polka, you know, because on Oktoberfest, you go out and you see these big brass bands, and they're doing this really driving music, and it's oompa music, and it's in 2/4 time, oompa, 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 oompa. A polska is nothing like that. A polska actually has like 3 beats to the measure, so it's sort of like it's like a waltz with a limp to it. You know, in a waltz, the pulse is a very strong first beat and 2 light upbeats. So it's pa, pa, right? It's a waltz. A polska is sort of like that, 3 beats, but instead of that pulse, there's a heavy third and first beat, and then a light second beat. So it's bum, bum. And if you think about it, that kind of sounds a little bit like a heartbeat, which gives it a sort of a very trancy drive to it. So we're going to play for you now a polska. This is called an even beat polska, which means that even though that pulse is still there, they don't extend the second beat. Sometimes they extend the second. That's what I meant by the limp. And this is a tune from the 1800s, and it's called Bredal.
Check my work.
Good enough.
So, after all the German records, which came out with a little bit of a overproduction of disco beats, and me laying on a piano like this was kind of a miss. So I came back to the United States and just started playing harp on Venice Beach boardwalk, selling cassettes out of a basket. And I sold a lot of cassettes out of that basket, me and a mandolin player or a flute player, playing my original music and just recording it very simply. And then CDs were coming in, so started doing CDs, and then I got to go play at the International Buskers Festival, was busking and playing all over the country, and I ended up selling like 500,000 of my own records on my own record label. And so then Windham Hill called me, and they said, "Is it true? Did you sell that many records on your own?" And I said, "Why, yes, I did." And they said, "Would you come and have a meeting with us, and will you bring your manufacturing receipts?" And I said, "Why, yes, I will." And they said, "Would you like to sign a record contract with Windham Hill and go on the road on tour with the Winter Hill Winter Solstice Artist Tour in a big fancy bus?" And I said, "Yes, I would." And so off I went. It was tremendous. It was incredible. It was wonderful. Suddenly, everything changed, and I was still doing art festivals, playing art festivals all day, like 10 hours a day on weekends, selling cassettes and CDs, and then going on these fancy tours, playing these incredible places. And every time the time came up for, like, you have this big record out, it's all over the world, and you got to go for the New Age, Billboard New Age music charts it was. But at the top, it was always the top 10 was a lockout. It was Yanni, 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 Enya, Enya, Enya. And all of us Windham Hill artists were like 14, 17, 16, way down there. In the meantime, I was realizing that I was missing street performing. I was missing the things I used to do in these fancy places. You never got to see anyone, talk to anyone, nothing. And so I was just missing that. And that was 1999. That's when the Columbine tragedy happened. And that's when I found out that one of the critically wounded students' families was using my music to soothe their daughter, who had been paralyzed from the waist down. And she was in Swedish hospital, and I happened to be touring through Colorado at the time. I ended up bringing my harp into the hospital where she was, and it ended up being the most incredible, meaningful day of my life, where suddenly all those charts and all that stuff didn't mean anything anymore. Like, music has the power to move people's hearts, and their family was all camped out, and there was like 8 students in critical care at Swedish Hospital in Littleton, Colorado. And I spent the whole day there. The family was able to release tears, and I would just play. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a plan, but it just all flowed so naturally that I just couldn't believe the way I felt. Suddenly there was this other purpose there. So we ended up getting the young girl a harp and starting her on her way to play music herself, and I wanted more of that. So I had like 5 harps at the time. I brought them to my grandmother's rest home. It's not just about playing for the people, it's putting their hands on the harp because it's so beginner friendly. No other instrument sounds like this the first time you touch it. It's like, you can't help it. I played in the heavy metal bands, and I'd bring my harp out on the stage for the last song, not to play heavy metal, but to just pluck the strings and do an intro before everything else. We were 80s in Southern California with big hair and spandex pants, just like doing headbanging and synchronized 80s. And so, but when the harp came out, oh my gosh, you could hear a pin drop. The whole heavy metal club went silent. So I knew the harp was something special. I would bring it to I played in an all-girl biker classic rock band at biker bars and military bases, and the harp would always come out at the end, and even the bikers couldn't refuse. They would go, Played at Camp Pendleton for the Marines. Even the soldiers were like, yeah. So I knew the harp had its power, and here was this opportunity after meeting this young girl from Columbine. I wanted more of that. I brought my harps to my grandmother's rest home to teach the little old ladies to play, and they were all hunched over in their wheelchairs, and I thought I would really have to coax them. Now, don't be shy, come and play the harps. Well, they practically ran me over with their wheelchairs going, woo-hoo, so much fun. I knew I was onto something, so I started writing letters. I just wanted to volunteer at some hospitals in Los Angeles where I lived. And so the first letter I wrote by alphabetical order was City of Hope, big national cancer center right outside of Los Angeles. And I was just going to offer these one-shot little programs where I would just come and bring harps and have this one thing and go a bunch of different places. But they really liked the idea. So they called me in to have a meeting with all these important people. And they looked at me and they said, we really like your interactive music idea. They said, but we don't want to do it just once. We are wondering about starting a program based around that. They said, we have a very large grant that if we don't use by a certain date, we're going to lose it. So do you think you can spend a lot of money in a short amount of time? And I said, why, yes, I can. So we started hands-on harps, and we bought harps and we made a whole music center. This is a huge universe of cancer and diabetes research and treatment center, and it is enormous. And so we had, oh boy, we had concerts every single week with the most illustrious harp players of the world touring through Los Angeles. Then the harps would be passed out, and the patients and the families and the doctors would even come down there like jamming tunes together on the harps. Nothing like that had ever happened. And so we spread out, and I started going on speaking engagements to nurses conference. By then I had my laptop and my PowerPoint and my harp and all the pictures of the cute little kids playing with their patients, and just like, it was just outstanding. More grants came rolling in. We got more acclimates and awards and all kinds of wonderful things. So we spread out, and then Kaiser Hospital wanted to do it, so I'm putting harpists in all different hospitals all around. I was like a madame of harp music, healing harp music. I can totally set you up. And so, and I was there all the time myself. We played in waiting rooms and hallways. Sometimes the patient would invite you to come into the room, and we would play nurses' stations, and we played in the pre-op where people were getting prepared for surgery. But I learned not to play in the post-op after surgery, because it was there I scared a man. He woke up and saw me there with my harp. He did not find it relaxing at all. I should not have worn that white dress either. So that is a true story, and no more post-op harp playing for the patients. But the most poignant of all of it was when it was time for somebody to move on to the next world. And quite often I would be approached by a minister or the family or one of the administration and say, the family in this area, their person is about to pass to the next world, and they would like to have music. So I went there often, and it was the most tender, incredible situation you could ever possibly be in. And it's not regular playing music like when we perform with dynamics and tricky stuff. You're there just to create pillows of comforting sound that allows the body to relax. And that's what I was really good at doing that. So I would be there, and because you're there for a long time, sometimes it's hours and hours, I would create much of this music that you're hearing tonight just by making those soft pillows of chord changes that I really like. I would go home and shape them into sounds and sculpt them into something for recording with more things to it. But in that situation, you play all simple, beautiful music, unless they ask for a specific piece. You don't do recognizable music. You just feel it. You feel the grace in the room. You feel this powerful love energy. No matter what you are oriented in spiritually wise, you cannot deny there is grace in the room when somebody's going to the next world. So I would create this music based on what I was feeling at that time. And this particular piece we're going to play now, I remember exactly what the time was. A mother was holding her teenage son. And I couldn't, you don't sit that close, you can't see that much, but I remember seeing his brown legs on the bed with her holding him like a baby, and the sun was coming in, and it was the most beautiful love you could ever see or imagine or be around. And from that moment, I knew what to play, and this was that piece, and it's called Angel of Mercy.
Lisa Lynne. Thank you. I have to live with that, which is great. We are a bit over, and can we just ask how much time we have, Chris? 5 minutes or 10 minutes? 10? You guys got 10 minutes? Oh, okay, that's great. Thank you. We appreciate it. We kind of, when we program these shows, we have sort of elements that all sort of fit together to ride a certain energy, so we appreciate that. We don't want to jump into the very last tune. Before we go on, I wanted to mention something about this instrument that I'm playing here. We have a lot of special instruments on stage, more at home. This is by far the most special instrument that we have, either on stage or at home. Not because you don't know what it is. This is actually not a violin, it's a viola, but that's not what makes it special. This is special because this instrument was made by that woman who hates Tom Jones. My mother made this viola. And I thought I would share that with you. It's a lovely instrument, and I love my mom.
She made Aryeh too. What's it going to be? Oh, okay.
So if you haven't figured it out, Lisa and I are married. And we got together back in around 2006, and we were friends and got in a relationship, and then finally we decided to tie the knot in 2015. And we got married where I grew up in Los Angeles, which is actually about an hour north of LA. And we
Thousand Oaks, where
Thousand
they
Oaks, yeah.
recorded all the, made all the Robin Hood movies.
Yeah.
And his neighbor was Gilligan from Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, Bob Denver was my neighbor. But in any case, we decided to have a small wedding party, and I wanted to share a piece of music to the at the ceremony. I wanted to share a piece of music for our guests, and I had selected the piece, one of my favorite pieces that Lisa wrote. Now this, I don't, sometimes this music, particular music, kind of just, I love all of Lisa's music, but this one is very special to me. I kind of am a curmudgeon and kind of like a dour kind of guy. But whenever I hear this piece of music and I play it, I just get uplifted. It makes me feel happy. And she wrote it actually for a Christmas album, but I absconded with it and made it our tune together. So we're going to play that tune, and then we're going to play our last tune. So this is a tune called Morning Star.
It was really cool. We had our instruments hidden behind the big tree where he used to play on as a boy. It was a beautiful outdoor Unitarian minister. 25 closest friends and family were there. We had our awesome guitar playing duo playing most of the music before and after festive music. And we just had this one song that we were going to play. We would have played more, but we were just too expensive.
Okay, well, this is going to be the last piece. It's our encore, or it's whatever. We want to thank all of you for coming out to hear. A lot of you are as I said, first-time offenders, and we really appreciate you taking a chance on sharing this evening with us. And for those of you who we've seen are old friends, thank you for coming out as well. We've been here a long time. We've toured through Portland many times. We know the people who founded Artichoke Music very well, good friends of ours, and yet we have never played on the storied stage. And it's such a wonderful stage to play on. It's got such wonderful energy. You guys have been such a marvelous audience. Let's give a hand to all the volunteers here that have made it possible. Chris and Dan Chris on the sound. Isn't he doing a great job? Fantastic.
Yes, Chris is awesome.
So I'm going to. This is like nothing we've played tonight. I am actually a fiddle player by training. My mother gave me a fiddle when I was like 3.5 years old and said, "You shall play this." And I got trained classically, and I played all sorts of different variety of music. I started getting into Irish music and Scandinavian music, rock and roll, jazz, all sorts of. Always in the background, there was this form of music that I never took very seriously. I just did not think it was something that I was really interested in. It never really grabbed me. Until about 5 years ago, I was listening to the radio. This music came on, and something happened, and I just said, I got to learn how to play this music. It's so much. It was just infectious, and I just made me feel so much joy, and it's taken over my life. And the music. Everything okay? Yeah. Yeah. The music that I'm talking about is Appalachian old-time fiddling. Yeah, so we're going to play for you an old-time fiddle tune from Kentucky, and I call this music joy juice. When you play it, you have to be happy. So if you guys want to get up and dance, you want to do a clog in or whatever, want to clap your hands, you're welcome to. Once again, thank you so much, and we hope to come back some other time. All right.
I'm still tuning.
You know, if you're an old time, you would never put up with this kind of tuning. They just play it.
All right.
Okay, you guys ready? you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All righty. Whew. Thank you very much. We're going to call it a night, and we'll be out there. And if you want to check us out for more of those CDs and everything like that, thanks for coming, and have a safe drive back home. Good night.